Hello everyone, welcome back to the Drive Guide, where today I'm testing out the 2020 Subaru Outback Premier. Last week I tested out the Legacy Premier GT, and a lot of what I spoke about in that review really carries over into this car as well. So to save myself repeating everything again, please refer back to that video if I haven't mentioned something that you want to know about when it comes to the Legacy or the Outback. But let's focus on this car in today's video. And firstly, how is this different to the Legacy? Firstly, it is a wagon. It does have a hatch in the rear. It's about 20 millimeters longer than the Legacy, 187 millimeters taller, has the same width though, and a lot of that additional ride height comes from the 220 millimeters of ground clearance that you'll get in this car. I've now got a diagram coming up showing you the angles of approach, departure, and breakover for this vehicle, and I've brought it in this environment in the messiest that I could make it, because I think that anybody that's looking to buy a Subaru Outback is at some point in their life or the vehicle's life going to take it out in an environment such as this. This is kind of the unofficial car of Canmore. I probably see this more than any other vehicle on the road, and I've been eager to test out this vehicle as it's now the only choice that you can get when it comes to a lifted wagon in the economy segment of vehicles. VW is killing off the Golf Alltrack for the 2020 model year, and Buick is getting rid of anything in its lineup that isn't an SUV. So if you're shopping for this, the next thing you're going to have to compare it to is something in the premium segment, whether that be something like a V90 cross country or perhaps an Audi A6 all-road that's coming back to Canada. But those are substantially more expensive than this vehicle. So what we're going to do in this video is really focus on the Outback specifics. Again, if you want to learn more about this new platform and all the changes that came about for this vehicle and a lot of the standard technology and the safety equipment, please refer back to my Subaru Legacy review. But then also place this car in my ranking system to see where it competes against its now defunct competitors, I suppose, and we're going to address the pros and the cons when it comes to this car. Anyways, let's get out of this area where the roads are horrendous, go back into town and do some driving. Okay, so driving about on some regular snow-covered tarmac, as the roads that lead up to the location we're seeing all of these shots is a very washboardy gravel road, and to do any sort of video and audio recording would be a disaster. So we're going to do all of our talking down here on the typical civic streets. Between the Legacy and the Outback, the trim levels on both cars are close to identical. Really, the only difference that I could find between the two versions is that with the Outback, it has another trim called the Outdoor, and with this Outdoor, what you're getting is a lot more blacked out plastics up front. The roof rails are all entirely blacked out, and instead of a compact spare wheel, you'll get a full-size spare wheel underneath the false floor. The differences that really separate this Outback from the Legacy, as I mentioned, I have the Premier trim in this version and in the Legacy, come down to really, I think, two fundamental components when we're talking about equipment that the Outback provides. One, because we have a rear windshield wiper, we also have Subaru's feature of having the wash jet on the backup camera. It's a feature that you really don't think you need until you have it, because on road conditions such as this, I've just cleaned the camera before getting into the car, but I'm confident that by the time I get out of it, it's going to be filthy. So when you ever approach a parallel park and you're really not confident if you can make it or not, being able to just simply push back on the stalk is a brilliant thing to have. The other thing that the Outback provides that you can't get in the Legacy is X mode. If you slide on the top tiny little, I suppose, quarter of the big 11.6 inch screen, you have the ability to slide over and engage X mode, as it helps keep everything in check, and I believe just keeps a constant split of power to every single wheel, so you won't expect any front end or rear end slip at all. If you went for the Outdoor version of the Outback, That's one of the biggest differences that you will find, is that you actually have another step of capability and variability to the X mode, where we just have snow and gravel mode, in that version you can get deep snow and mud mode. The Outback I'm driving has the 2.5 litre naturally aspirated flat 4 boxer engine. It produces 182 horsepower and 176 pound-feet of torque. And just like the Legacy, if you want to go for the more powerful 2.4 litre turbo engine, it'll cost you another $2,800 Canadian. Do I miss the power? Not really. I do notice it though. I just don't think the application of the turbocharger and the additional power that comes along with it is all that necessary. However, if you are someone that's going out to buy an Outback and you plan on regularly towing, the 2.4 litre turbo is the better engine for you. With that motor, you can tow up to 3,500 pounds, but with this naturally aspirated 2.5, you can only pull 2,700. The 2.5 litre engine is familiar to many other Subaru models, but here Subaru says that 90% of the components are revitalized or new in some way. So it isn't a direct carryover from something that's in the Forester. Got a good amount of response. The CVT is not the best that I've ever encountered in a car. There are times where you're applying light throttle and it just kind of holds at that 2,000 or 3,000 RPM. But Subaru has engineered the faux gear shifting, where you can use the paddles behind the steering wheel or with the shift lever itself to change 8 fake gears. They listen to your response fairly well, but it's just simply not the best CVT I think that you can buy anywhere on the market today. Pertaining to why I think so many people buy the Outback is that increased ride height and taller seating position, and I can honestly tell you that I can feel a significant difference between where my butt is placed in this Outback versus the Legacy. The seat mounting point is exactly the same for both cars, but with the ride height that we have in the Outback, adding on to the flatter, longer roof that is inherent with the Outback, we do have a slight more amount of headroom for the front and the rear space. So carrying over some of the things that I like and I didn't like when it comes to the Legacy and what carries over immediately into the Outback. Things that I like, I think the interior of this Outback and the Legacy are the best trimmed Subarus that the company has ever made. Rich leather in a lot of places, even when there are soft plastics, they are very nicely padded, and of course you'll expect harder stuff down below, but nothing out of the ordinary. The 11.6-inch screen has a fairly decent response. There's a couple sub-menus that annoy me though. For further elaboration, please go over and look at my review of the Legacy. There's a few differences when it comes to the back seats in the Outback. Of course, being a wagon, you're able to reach behind you and get into the boot if you need to. There's a handle to recline back ever so slightly, and as I mentioned earlier, because of the flatter, taller roofline, there is a touch more headroom in the rear seats as well. So this is a bit of a new test when it comes to what I consider important when I'm talking about practical vehicles. If there's a question that I'm asked more than any amongst my group of friends is, can I buy this car and camp in the back of it? So that's what my Campus Paradise Index is all about. And with the Subaru Outback, it might be perhaps the best vehicle for this ranking system, this category, whatever you want to define it as. I think this could potentially be the best car we ever test on the Drive Guide. So first of all, let's open it up and talk about what we've got going back in here. Now, I've already taken the security cover out of this car because it is quite a faff to put it underneath the false floor. You're going to see a video coming up over my talking voice right now, and why it's a bit annoying is that you have some other components that you need to take out, then line up, then push it all back together, and although it does result in a perfectly flat loading floor, it's a bit of a two-handed operation. So back here, let's just show off things that are important. You've got some shopping bag hooks on either side. That's fantastic. Plenty of tie-down points. And here we have some releases for the rear seats. You've got one on the left-hand side and the other on that hand side. Get this out of the way too. So immediately, this looks like a fantastic spot. You know what? It could even be the size of like a double bed. So let's just slide down right in and see how it pans out for me. So me sliding into the back here, I don't even need to put my center of mass over the rear seats to get my feet in the car. If I were to lie down just like this is almost what it's like sleeping on my bed at home. We've got plenty of space down here, so again, you can hide away items if you need be. These seats aren't even as far forward as they can go. It isn't a perfectly flat floor, I must say. It is raised just a tiny bit, but really, if you're camping back here, I don't think you're going to have anything to complain about. In fact, you could probably fit 3 people in here and be fairly comfortable. So, Subaru Outback, best car in the Campers Paradise Index. High potential for it, yeah. So that wraps up everything I want to say about the Subaru Outback. This is a car that I get why it's so popular out here. It serves every function of life that any Cadmorite or anybody living in the Rockies could really look for if they don't want the traditionally shaped SUV. And even though it doesn't have any competitors left in its segment, I would still say that this is a car that you should consider owning. It doesn't fully commit to what I define as a segment leader, but if you're shopping for this car, if you're looking to replace your Outback with the new one, you're not going to be disappointed. It's a fantastic car, offers a lot more technology, and like the Legacy, I think this is the best interior that Subaru has ever produced. So that's been everything from me in this review. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you liked it and share it if you think other people would like it too. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, that number really boosts my self-esteem. So hit that button and hopefully I'll see you again here soon.